Welcome back to the Ivory Coast, where a military mutiny has ended after it paralysed cities and towns across the nation for 4 days. This comes as leaders of the revolt accepted a new government proposal promising bonus payments. Pascal Davies has more.
Peace is beginning to return to the streets of the Ivory Coast. Since Friday, violence has escalated. Renegade soldiers were shooting in the air and setting up roadblocks. But now in Bouaké, the epicenter of the uprising, and Ivory Coast's second largest city, the roads are reopening after leaders of the nationwide military mutiny accepted a government proposal. Ministers quickly gave in to the soldiers' demands after an earlier proposal was rejected on Monday. Under the new agreement, each of the mutineers will receive an immediate bonus payment of 5 million CFA francs, the equivalent of $8,400. Another 2 million CFA francs will then be paid at the end of next month.
After what the president said yesterday, we are satisfied. We have convinced our colleagues and go back to our barracks. We have opened the road, as you can see, and we are with our colleagues from the police. We are going to our barracks. Our place is there, not here.
The mutineers were soldiers who helped President Alassane Ouattara seize power in 2011. Many were rewarded for their backing by being given jobs in the army. But they were angered by the scrapping of a deal agreed with the president in January to give them back pay and bonuses. For the streets are steadily returning to normal, but the mutiny has raised fears of a resurgence of the violence seen during the Ivory Coast 10-year civil war.
OK, we head back to the US now, and there's been a friendly first meeting between President Donald Trump and his Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. At the White House, Erdogan said Trump's election win led to an awakening of a new set of aspirations, expectations and hopes in the Middle East. The two countries bolstered trade ties as Turkey ordered military equipment from the US, but tensions remain over a number of issues, including Turkey's demand to extradite US-based Islamic cleric Fethullah Gulen. He's accused of being behind Turkey's failed military coup last July. Gulen's spokesman insists the accusations are false.
For the United States to simply accept Erdogan's demand to appease him would send a very wrong signal to the world. He doesn't believe he will get a fair trial in Turkey, and nobody who observes Turkey believes that. He will not get a fair trial. He will only be sent to his death.
Extreme weather conditions in the U.S. Tornadoes tore through Texas, Oklahoma and Wisconsin on Tuesday, leaving a trail of destruction. Dramatic footage of a dark, swirling twister is seen here, making its way across open plains. Authorities say at least one person died when his mobile home was ripped apart. Elk City in Oklahoma bore the brunt of the damage, with dozens of homes destroyed. Forecasters say more strong winds and hail are expected throughout the region. In Mexico, supporters of slain journalist Javier Valdez gathered outside the country's interior ministry to protest his death. Dozens, many of them journalists, also came demanding justice and to speak out against impunity. Valdez was gunned down on Monday close to his offices in Sinaloa. He was an award-winning chronicler of drug trafficking and organized crime. Many think his work got him killed. Authorities say the procedure for opening an inquiry has begun. Valdez was the 6th reporter to be killed in Mexico since March. Now, the Cannes Film Festival is about to kick off its 70th edition, but this year it's being marked by backstage drama involving Netflix. Netflix, which streams films and TV shows to subscribers, has two of the hottest movies in contention for the Palme d'Or, its first time in competition at the renowned festival. But in France, movies shown in cinemas can't be streamed for 3 years, so Netflix has refused to arrange distribution of the films across the country. The festival has now tightened its rules so that in future, any in-competition film will have to get a theatre release, effectively barring Netflix after this year.
Cannes is a film festival in theaters, and for the territory of France, we would like to have all the films competing in Cannes available in theaters. It's not, of course, against anyone. It's not to fight against anyone. It's just to say, well, we're here.
Next up, sports news. Football first, and the Asian Football Confederation postponed an Asian Cup qualifier scheduled between North Korea and Malaysia because of ongoing political tension. The move comes just hours after South Korea's president said there was a high possibility of conflict with the North as it presses ahead with its nuclear and missile programs. Diplomatic relations between Kuala Lumpur and Pyongyang were strained already following the murder of Kim Jong-un's estranged half-brother at Kuala Lumpur International Airport in February. The fixtures are now scheduled to be played on October 5th, but the venue is yet to be decided on. And staying on football news, a Madrid prosecutor is accusing two professional footballers of tax evasion. Monaco forward Radamel Falcao and Real Madrid's Fabio Contrao have been accused of hiding more than $7.5 million from the tax office between 2012 and 2014. Both have been accused of falsifying their earnings from image rights. Their respective agents and clubs have not commented on the matter yet. And turning to the Italian Open, Maria Sharapova called it quits during her second-round match due to a thigh injury. The 30-year-old Russian took an injury timeout early in the third set and came back sporting a severely bandaged left thigh. Sharapova was leading 4-6, 6-3, 2-1 against Croatia's Mirjana Lucic-Baroni when she retired just hours after she was denied a wild card for the French Open, a tournament she's won twice in the past. Her only hope now is to be granted a main draw spot in Wimbledon. The decision will be reached on June 20th. And more from the Italian Open. Andy Murray's birthday wishing didn't work out for him as Fabio Fognini crushed him in the second round. Fognini, ranked 29th in the world, dominated the game with confident, powerful shots to a cheering home crowd. He blasted past Murray with a final score of 6-2, 6-4. The Scot admitted he's not playing good tennis, but now looks ahead to prepare for the French Open, a major event he's never won.
You know, it's tough to necessarily analyse losses in a couple of days when you're also looking, you know, to the next tournament. But that's also sometimes a positive thing that you have another event to look forward to immediately. You get a chance to play better.
Now, for those afraid of heights, it might be a good thing to look away now. Wingsuit pilot Fraser Corson is all set to break 4 world records later this month as he attempts to become the fastest man in the world unaided by machinery. Matthew Stock reports.
Wingsuit pilot Fraser Corson on one of his last practice jumps ahead of an attempt to break 4 world records. One record would crown him the fastest moving man in the world unaided by machinery if he hits speeds of 250 miles per hour. He's also going for the longest time and furthest distance flown, as well as the highest altitude jumped in a wingsuit.
The commercial aircraft will actually be below us when I exit, because they got to 37,000 feet, we're going another 5,000 feet higher than them. So around 12,000 feet higher than Mount Everest. And then on top of that, we're going to try and do the highest speed, which is about the same speed as a Bugatti Veyron or a Ferrari F50, about 250 miles per hour.
His specially made wingsuit includes inlets to inflate the wings in flight and an optimized wing profile to give his arms superior aerodynamics. It's also built to contend with freezing temperatures he'll face at high altitude.
We're actually going to a place which is between minus 50 and minus 70 degrees centigrade. So it's incredibly cold. It's the coldest place on Earth. North Pole gets to about minus 35. We're going twice as cold as that. That's before I factor in wind chill.
Corson's record attempts, dubbed Project Cirrus, are raising money for SAFA, the Armed Forces charity. At Corson's invitation, SAFA beneficiary Rory McKenzie, who lost a leg in Basra 10 years ago, took part in his first ever tandem skydive.
I've done some crazy stuff in my life and been in some hairy moments in my life, but nothing comes close to that. That is a really, really special feeling.
The record attempts will be split into 2 separate jumps, one in the United States and one in Canada. Subject to weather conditions and airspace clearance, Corson is scheduled to take the plunge in late May.
Crazy, crazy, crazy people. Anyway, that's it from me for this evening. Do join us again for ViuTV News again tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Bye-bye for now.
Coming up next, bringing sexy back.